Hello everyone in the YouTube community. This is Joker24 here, bringing you another vlog of one of our trips to Philadelphia, overnight trips to Philadelphia. Oh yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this little vlog, and I see you when we get to something interesting. Okay, see you in a bit. Well, here we are at one of the museums in Philadelphia about Philadelphia's history and slavery and all that stuff, all that good stuff. All that good stuff here.
Like the enslaved residents of this house.
We got the Washington Staff and Ronald Hope for Freedom, which tells you about the story about Hope for Freedom and all that stuff. All that good stuff. And there is, I don't know what that is down there. Don't know what that is, but I'm sure I'll see one. Let's see what it is soon. But if you guys know what this is, then please type in the comment box below. I would like to know about this. And we're back here at the Austin Parish Hercules and all those other people. And the Mount Versus to Philadelphia, which says in the video about Queen Thorn and all that Philadelphia and stuff, all that stuff. And here it's the there's something with a bunch of quotes from a bunch of people. A lot of people. No, historian people from history, Philadelphia's history, which is epic, pretty good. Good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take you if you.
And there's
You're gonna get a lot of pictures of the Liberty Bell.
the histories of Liberty Bell here.
Yes, definitely.
And here is all the history of the Liberty Bell. Bell's history and how it made and all that stuff. All that good stuff, and how heavy it is and weight is that much pounds. That's a lot. Yeah, 20,080 pounds. That's a lot. Well, and now, yeah, and they heard that when they have the War on Sea bells 2 times, and I think the other one it rains only 1 time. Yep. And right here is a little tribute to the City Guard Relic, a useful symbol. Alright. Okay, and all that history and stuff like that. And then it's the other parts of history of the Liberty Bell, of Ringloud and Howard Bell. Ring it till the slave be free. The Liberty Bell by H.R.H. Moore in the Liberty Bell, Boston, in year 1844. That's a long, very, very long time ago. All right. Here we go. Okay. And there's what this whole thing says. It states in Persian's Fair City, Claim and Grove hangs the old bell, which rings no more, for freedom sleeps on freedom's shores. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good. Made by Charlie Wilson, St. Denis, Liberty Bell in the year 1849. Okay. There are all the people that served in the war. That's all really good. Good at Philadelphia, everything. They fought for all Americans and stuff like that.
Back in that time, women did not have the same rights, although they had more rights than the minorities.
Yeah.
Also at this time,
This all well reference made by Frederick Douglass at the Sovereign Loyals Convention, Philadelphia, in the year 1866.
Gave up the slaves, but his wife did not.
Okay.
And she kept her
Yeah.
slave. I was watching it.
oh,
She kept her slave who was an old slave.
And there is,
Upon her death,
I hear more
gave her
history of other history of Liberty Bell and freedom and all that stuff. Okay. Which is all pretty cool and sometimes still best to know about those histories, because that's what they used to look like long ago. Alright, and here is the other plates and items and stuff like that. Okay.
guys, stay here because a lot of people are by the Liberty Bell now. So.
Okay. Yeah. Huh? And here it is. Here's the other parts of the history and stuff like that.
Now,
And all the other
talking
items.
about in the 1700s when the Liberty Bell was made. Because remember, the Declaration of Independence was signed 1776.
Yeah.
It's
Alright.
almost going to be 300
Huh?
years.
Press button to hear music.
Right now, it's
What's this do? Oh. Yeah. Oh. Okay, that sounds like a pretty good tune. Yep, and the other things, epic things. Oh, out of order. Oh well. Alright, and there's all some really good tunes and stuff like that. And all this words and everything else around here. And we'll be back in a little bit.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, Virginia, Maryland, and the Carolinas.
I found a place to charge my phone. Look.
The Liberty Bell is a very specific symbol for the entire democratic world. Nelson Mandela, Philadelphia Inquirer, July 4th, 1993. Okay, that was not still long ago, but very long ago. And there's the other artwork of the Liberty Bell that people made all these years ago. And they're all fighting for freedom and everything else. Well, there's the X-ray of the Liberty Bell and stuff. But yet now this is a real X-ray, the outside and the inside of the Liberty Bell. Epic. Really good. Okay. There's it. Yeah, and there's a lot of things from the Liberty Bell around here, and each facts are pretty good to learn. Cool to learn. Yeah. And now, right here's the video where we teach you a bit about it and all that stuff. And then Freedom on the Trail and all that. And then rescue and all that stuff. Yeah, see you in a bit. And as you see from right here, this is literally the Liberty Bell, and everyone is getting ready to take pictures in front of it. Which would be pretty cool. Alright. Yep, and there is right here the Liberty Bell with a real crack. It's a real Liberty Bell, not replica, the real deal. Awesome. And we're all right here at the gift shop, and in front you see Rocky Balboa doing his usual pose. Epic. Like if you're a big fan of Rocky, this gift shop you gotta see, because it has a lot of things from the Rocky, yeah, and it'll be awesome. Yeah, and right around here is the sign, the Declaration of Independence. Looking good, and the words are a little small and it's a little bit tricky to read, but the only big letters is the in Congress, July Declaration, United States of America in general. The symbol, Declaration of Independence. Alright, these are another one of those Declarations of Independence, and they both are 100% real. Yeah. And we grade essentials and everything else like that. All this. Which tells you about the Constitution of the U.S. and all that stuff. And the Declaration of Independence. And everything came from history. From 70 all the way to the 70s, 70s, 80s, and 79s.
But you have to do, don't hit the water.
Alright. Down. Up there in English, and the other one Spanish or Japanese or Chinese or whatever. And everything else. Even though I may not get some of these, can't quite make out what these words are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the photographs of Tom Shackleton in the American Philosophical Society.
All right. And
I just know that they have.
Not made right.
And the taste would be
And then there's also some that are in.
yeah. And all.
There's some that are in. Yeah.
the signing of the Independence and swords and whatever. And all these things are really story things. And here is another part of the vlog. Right here we can see where the whole big meetings and stuff like that. Oh yeah. Yeah, good idea. Better idea. Yeah, but right here is the little courthouse where they all made the independence. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, welcome to Independence Hall. This building was part of the plan in the early 1700s to turn this whole square into kind of a government center. They're going to have a county building there, a state or colony building here, a city hall that way, but they ended up kind of cheaping out. They're really going to build this one first and then not a whole lot for a few decades. This part you're in now was built in the 1730s and 1740s. The bell tower there is going to be added on in the 1750s. This is being built by the Pennsylvania Assembly. They're the local colonial government. They've been around for quite some time, but they used to just meet in random people's houses. They wanted a nice place to meet. So they're going to build this building. You're probably also here because you want to learn about the Revolutionary history, because although there are many things that people like about being English in the colonies, as we're going through the 1700s, we're going to start having some issues. So we're going to learn about what's going to happen with that too. Now, as I was saying, although we're going to become our own country, there are a lot of things that people like, many people like about being English in the colonies. There are a lot of things we're going to keep, even when we become our own country. We're going to keep elements of culture and politics and government. England, like the United States, has 3 branches of government. And you can see them in this building. In this room, we have the court system, the judiciary. You can see a place for the lawyers, a place for the judges, a place for the jury, a place for the judges, and a place for the lawyers down here. This might seem a little strange if you're traveling to the United States, maybe less so if you're traveling from England. This is the prisoner's office where the person being tried would stand trial. So this is the judiciary. Over there, where we can shut the doors for privacy, is where the Pennsylvania Assembly met. That's the legislative branch, similar to our U.S. Congress. And up top, where we're not going to be going, is where they had the Governor's Advisory Council. That would be like the executive branch. So like our president, vice president, the people they directly and indirectly appoint, like the Park Service. At that point in time, those people were largely appointed by royals, or appointed by people who were appointed by royals. And there are a lot of things we're going to keep. There are a lot of things people like, but as we're going through the 1700s, we're going to start to have some issues. In the 1750s, the 1760s, we're going to be involved in a war. If you're educated in the United States, you might have heard it referred to as the French and Indian War. If you're educated in Europe, you might have heard it referred to as the 7 Years' War, because that's how long it took. It was largely between England and France, these 2 colonial powers. And in this area, they were fighting alongside people from allied tribal nations. One of the results of this was that even when the war ended, the fighting didn't end. Because the British representatives had made a number of promises to the allied tribes. Promises about how they would remove forts off their land when the war was over. And promises about how they would remove settlers from their land. But none of that came to pass, and the tribes are going to start attacking up and down the frontier to push people out of their property. The government's going to decide that even though this war is over, they need to have a permanent standing army in the colonies. Now this isn't cheap, and they're going to start having all sorts of new taxes to pay for it. taxes that people in colonies didn't have to really deal with a lot before. And you don't have to remember what each of them was or when each of them was imposed, but basically we have the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, and the Townsend Acts. And collectively, they're kind of taxes on like imported luxury goods and paper products, bills, legal documents like marriage certificates, newspapers, sugar, all the sweet stuff you like, things for playing games, cards, dice, stuff like that. And so whether or not you're offended by this or bothered, depends on your lifestyle. Some people were really upset, some people weren't quite so upset. We know that people in Massachusetts were rather upset. They're going to start rebelling pretty heavily in the 1770s. We're going to have the Boston Massacre, in which Bostonians throwing stones and ice at soldiers going to be shot at, killing a number of them. Soon after, we're going to have the Boston Tea Party, in which Bostonians upset at yet another tax on tea, amongst other things. They're going to board a ship in the middle of the night and take all the tea and throw it overboard into the ocean, destroying it. The government is not pleased. They're trying to impose these taxes, the people keep on rebelling. They impose more taxes, the people rebel more. They're trying to get control of an increasingly uncontrollable situation. So what they're going to do is they're going to impose more acts. These are going to be called the coercive acts, which don't sound very friendly. They're going to be called the intolerable acts here. They're mostly to punish Massachusetts. They're going to restrict their legal and political rights, but they're also going to start affecting people in the other colonies with something called a quartering act, meaning that you might have to quarter or house troops on your property. And now people in other colonies are starting to get more upset. Many feel that they're losing their rights as English. They're paying different taxes than the English in England, they have different rights than the English in England, and they have different representation in Parliament. So they're going to see if they can petition the king to some sort of agreement, see how they can have a better way of doing things. So we're going to go into that room right across the hall through those doors. Feel free to take photos. We'll discuss what they're going to do there, and I'll be following you guys shortly. So okay, guys, again, feel free to take photos. This room is a little bit less original than the other one. We had to restore a bit more, but we do still have original elements here. The chair in the middle with the rising sun design was used by George Washington while he was here. Some of the woodwork's original, and we do have some original things on the tables. Like on that table representing Virginia, we had Thomas Jefferson's walking stick. Now, as I said, increasing numbers of people in the colonies are upset. Not everybody, but enough that they're going to get together and see what they can do about it. They're going to start sending representatives to Philadelphia. They're going to call the First Continental Congress. They're going to meet kind of secretly and see if they can petition the king. All the original 13 colonies are going to send people, except for Georgia. They're going to come along later. And they're going to meet in Philly. And are they going to meet here? No, not yet. They're going to meet about 2-3 blocks that way in Carpenter's Hall. It's closed right now for renovations, but the building does stand. You can walk around a little bit and see what it looks like. And that's where they're going to be in 1774, seeing if they can come to some sort of an agreement with the king. And as you might have heard, it's not going to work out. They're going to end up having to come back here in 1775 for the Second Continental Congress. It's going to last until 1781, and that time they're going to meet right in this room. You can see in just a year how much more comfortable they are, how much more confident they are. They're comfortable meeting now where the colonial government meets. They're going to be here, successive governments are going to largely be here the next few years. And while they're in this building, while they're in this room, they're going to create the documents that are going to start us formally on this war, but also determine who we're going to be as an American people for hundreds of years. The first thing they're going to do is have a Declaration of Independence. We have to say we're not part of England anymore. They're mostly going to start working on it in private homes, but they're going to bring it here to debate and vote upon it. They're going to vote to approve it on July 4th of 1776. 4 days later, they're going to read it out there to that square where all of you are waiting, so people can start hearing about it. And about a month later, they're going to start signing it in this room. And you know, the Declaration of Independence is great, but it doesn't mean a lot if you can't back it up. We have to win the war now. And the United States didn't win the war all on their own. We had a lot of help. We had help from our allies, from France, from Spain. You might have heard us say the Marquis de Lafayette is going to come over from France, a young aristocrat. He's pretty young, but he's really, really enthusiastic. here when the first French minister is going to come to present his credentials to the new government to open up diplomatic relationships with what's going to be our longest ally. They're going to work on the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union here. It's kind of like a small pre- or a proto-U.S. Constitution. It doesn't have a lot of teeth, but it's going to get us a little bit further along. Really until 1786. At that point in time, we're going to have a rebellion, Shays Rebellion, and they think we need to have a stronger, more centralized form of government. So they're going to come right back here for a constitutional convention. They're going to work on what's going to become the U.S. Constitution. They're going to send it out to the states to ratify or approve it, and then finalize it back here. This Constitution, which with many really important amendments, is going to help guide who we're going to be as an American people. And now, we've got the Constitution. We have a new government, and they're going to go up to New York City for about a year and a half for the first U.S. Congress, first and second sessions. They've got a bunch of stuff to do, but they're probably trying to figure out where the capital of the country is going to be. And it could have been Philly. It's been in Philly for most of the last, 15 years? It could have stayed in Philly. Why not? Philly is awesome. Right? You're all here for vacation, it's awesome. And they could have stayed here. This had 40,000 people living here. That was the second biggest city in the British Empire, twice as big as New York. They had taverns and townhouses, paved streets. That's pretty great. They could have stayed here. But it had to get political, right? Some of the Northerners wanted farther north, a lot of Southerners wanted it farther south, and in the end it's going to come down to George Washington, who wants to put it between Virginia and Maryland. It's probably a complete coincidence that he's putting it right where he lives, but that's okay. You go through, that's okay. We'll let him do that. But that doesn't mean we can just take Congress and send them right down there now. There's no Washington, D.C. There's no federal city. There's no infrastructure. We don't want them living in the woods in tents eating hot dogs over a campfire. That's not going to work out. So they're going to give them 10 years to get the new federal city set up. And during that time, they're going to come right back to Philadelphia. They finally got their act together and built the courthouse over there, a county courthouse. That's going to go great for Congress. They're going to be there from 1790 to 1800. They're trying to be figuring out how to take all these ideas they came up with here and turn it into an actual functioning government. What's the practical application of all these ideas we have? And then they're going to move down to what's going to be D.C. And what's going to happen to Philadelphia? It's not the capital of the country anymore. It's not even the capital of Pennsylvania anymore. They're using this building for different things, but there's a real worry. It might be chopped up or rented out or sold. And the people in Philadelphia, they're going to spend $70,000 in 1818 to buy and preserve this building. But just because they bought it doesn't mean that people overall care about it. You always need to have people care about things to help preserve it. They're not going to care until 1824, because in 1824, we're going to be visited again by a good friend, the Marquis de Lafayette. He survived the American Revolution. He survived the French Revolution as an aristocrat. He's going to come back, kind of do a farewell tour around the colonies, see his old friends, see the country he helped put together. He's going to do about 5 days in this room, kind of holding court and reminiscing about what they went through. It's the first time they're going to call this room the Hall of Independence. It's going to cement for everybody the meaning of this place, and ever after that, people are going to want to protect it. It's the reason why you all can come here and have park rangers tell you about how this is where they signed the Declaration of Independence, how this is where they created the U.S. Constitution. These documents that are going to start us on this war, but also help determine really who we're going to be as an American people. Now, at this point, I've pretty much said, everything I want to say. Feel free to take more photos. We're going to be heading out that way. The tour will be over. I'll be leaving you guys out that way. But there are still things to do in this square before you leave. Congress Hall has tours every 20 minutes. You don't need a ticket. The small building in between, the West Wing, has a lot of historic documents from our country's founding. Those might be fun to check out. The Bell's right across the way. But whatever you choose to do, have a great time in Philadelphia, you guys.
Well, that's it for part 1 of this vlog through Philadelphia. Stay tuned for part 2 of this Philadelphia vlog coming to YouTube. YouTube a day after this one's been posted, and I will see you guys in part 2 of the vlog through Philadelphia. Oh yeah, and I'll see you guys next time later, and have a nice day.